Ohio gozaimasu, Ohio.
Get out of the way, you pirate hippie. Get out of
And
the road.
the septic shock road trip hits the Midwest.
The Midwest.
Uh,
Is
I,
that where we are? Okay.
yeah, I think so. I think it counts. The land of Devo. They're from Ohio, right?
Okay. Ohio.
I always forget to look this up, and I always ask, I don't know, because all the states, they're all called the Hunya Hunya state, right? What's Ohio, you know? Is it
Oh, actually, I looked this up over because I just finished working at a summer camp, a summer day camp
ah,
at the American school in Japan, here in
ah,
Japan. And so since over the last maybe 4-ish years, they changed their focus of the summer day to really everything about America, America, America. So
oh,
the point now that we
that
have to kind of
sounds
like,
delightful.
yeah, yeah. So we have to really kind of like, teach about and so the kids are kind of divided up into groups, and each group is given the name of a state. So there's about 50, there's probably more than 50 groups. And then, so up to the grade 5, the first 5 grades, they have like names of states. And then after that, they have like cities or boroughs of New York or stuff like that. Right. So I think, yeah. So I think it's no 4 grades, and the 5th grade is cities, and the 6th grade gets boroughs of New York. So anyway, so you're kind of supposed to teach them about their states or about their kind of, and they're supposed to learn about America, and there's like they give you like an American flag to hang up and all this stuff, right? So, and usually I just kind of forego all that kind of nonsense.
Are
Basically,
they American kids?
no, they're all Japanese kids. Yeah, yeah, all Japanese. Yeah, yeah. So,
Okay.
but because the camp is at
Soft power at work, right?
yeah, but because the camp is at the American school, it's like an American camp, so they wanted to like do it to like about America. So my understanding was that it was just supposed to be like an experience like you would have at a camp in America. But then now in the last 4 years, they've changed it to be like, teach them about America. Right. So I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, I usually forego that element of it,
You're
but
making summer camp great again, is what you're doing.
yeah, exactly, right. But they did have like some of the resources we have are all like kind of like American puzzles where you put America together. So sometimes I use some of those. I here put this puzzle together of America, and also there's a bingo, American State Bingo, and on the American State Bingo, every single one has the nickname of the state.
Okay,
So
okay.
I was kind of like I was like learning myself, but so now that you bring it up, actually, that's a lot of
Okay.
true leather to say that actually I don't really know. I didn't remember what Ohio is, but
Okay.
I can tell you it is the something. What is it? The
The potato
capital
state.
potatoes. Yeah, that sounds vaguely familiar. Um, the um. Anyway, keep talking,
Maybe
and I'll cut in with it when I find it.
it's the Devo state. Maybe that's what it is. Before Devo came along, they didn't have a name for it. Um,
Ohio.
Jungle Hope. So anyway, we are in Ohio, and first off, we go to Cincinnati for Homebodies from
Right.
1974, directed
Oh,
by Larry Just. Yes, you found it, Ron?
yeah, I found it. It's the Buckeye State.
What the fuck is a Buckeye?
It's a kind of tree, Buckeye trees.
Ah, and they got a lot
There's
of them,
certain
I'm guessing.
a lot of these trees that they have. So and
I think I would have.
also they call people from Ohio Buckeyes, and I possibly maybe it's one of the names of like their their sports teams or something, but it's named after the trees. Yeah,
Go Buckeyes.
well, Buckeyes, yeah,
Yeah, I
something like
never would have guessed that in a million years.
yeah.
Um,
I don't even know what a Buckeye tree is. So anyway,
no, I think a chimpanzee would have started writing the works of Shakespeare before I would have got that. But yeah, Homebodies, as Larry Used written by Howard Kaminsky and Bennett Sims, for producer Marshall Buckler, who also made Used. I suppose his big cult film is Pretty Poison, right, with Anthony Perkins. And this is a film. Well, it's an interesting one because it's that rarest of genres. I suppose it's the Well, it's horror. It's the geriatric horror
Geriatric horror.
film. I suppose to file alongside the likes of Bubba Hotep, for example, I suppose would make an interesting.
Was Bubba Hotep about? I actually never saw Bubba Hotep. Wasn't that a mummy?
Really?
Yeah, it was all. It was like
you
always.
a huge Bubba Hotep fan.
I'm a huge Bruce Campbell fan, and it was always on my list. But I remember when it first came out, I couldn't find a copy of it. I couldn't. They didn't rent it at my video store, and it's sort of always become like one of those ones that is sort of like the ones I need to get around to watching.
You will, because
I'm sure I would love it. Yeah.
I like Bubba Hotep, but you will love.
I'm sure I would, but isn't it a mummy movie though?
Yeah, but it's the two main characters are in an old folk song.
Oh, okay.
Bruce Campbell's like Elvis hadn't died, but he's in this nursing home.
Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like Elvis and a mummy or something, isn't it?
There's a movie. Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, if you can get it in time, perfect Saturday night film for you. You will definitely love it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, there's this area of Cincinnati which is basically there's some tenements that are being cleared out. Right, they're being cleared out. All the residents are being ejected because they're going to redevelop the area for kind of fancy new high rises, I guess. But there's some holdouts in the form of a bunch of coffin dodgers who basically refuse to move. Dodgers. Right. Primarily Paula Truman is the not so nice little old lady, and you got Peter Brocco as the blind Blakely, you got Francis Fuller, William Hanson, Ruth McDermott, a bunch of interesting kind of people you don't really, these are the people you don't really pay much attention to in movies usually, right? Very side.
Yeah, they're all like that. My understanding is, I mean, again, is out of my wheelhouse, but they're like the kind of the character background, kind of not background actors, but the character actors from like the 40s and 50s.
Some of them are
like,
definitely,
the best friends and the sidekicks and the neighbors and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, some of them are maybe minor celebrities from back in the day as well, but so that's the thing. And but the new high rise that's going up, there's a bunch of accidents, right, where people are being killed on site, and spoilers, eventually you find out that these aren't accidents at all, and in fact these nice little old people are basically offing people, anyone they think is getting between them and them staying, living in the same building.
Right.
And that's kind of that is the setup, right? Which is kind of a fun setup. I quite like the idea of this. Old people, usually, considered kind of cuddly and harmless, but there's like a scene where they bury someone alive in cement, right?
Yeah.
Which is quite a funny scene.
Yeah, and then the foot is sticking out, so she just like cuts off the toes.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun to see, these characters who are normally considered kind of helpless, right? It's interesting because I like it. My missus, for example, my wife is a pharmacist, and as part of her job going around delivering medicine to old folks' homes and people at home and stuff, she deals a lot with old people. And it's interesting. I think if you spend a lot of your time with old people, you quickly wear away that sympathy that you might have for old people as soon as it doesn't. Because you realize, like, old people are a bunch of cunts. Basically, like, they're quite horrible because they don't give a fuck anymore. And they
can I quote you on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I like that about this film. It's basically it's a bunch of old cunts killing people, right? Yeah. And totally unsympathetic. I don't know how you felt. I didn't really feel at any point. Maybe I should have done. Maybe I should have. Oh, they're losing their home. No. Fairly unsympathetic. But I don't know. It's a black comedy, I suppose, is what it is.
Yeah. I would say that. Yeah. So it was.
And I think it has a sort of cumulative, like, it's a bit. I remember watching this. I was really keen to, because I remember seeing this once before, and I really liked it. And I was I almost said, and I'm glad I didn't actually, because I would have set it up. I almost said to you, "You're gonna love Homebodies." I almost said, right, and then as I was watching, I was like, "Oh, this." I'm not this isn't the film I remember. Like it takes a lot longer to get going than I remember. But then I think when it does hit its speed, and I think it will, and then it has a cumulative effect. And in the end, it turned out to be a fun little film again, watching it again. But the first time going into it totally unaware, I think I enjoyed it a lot more because I know what to expect. So I'm glad I didn't set it up for you.
Okay.
So how did you get on with Homebodies, Ron?
Yeah, well, you could have set it up because I loved this movie. That was great.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, I really got on with it. I thought it was really good fun. It was so I mean it's really more of a dark comedy than a horror.
Yes.
Yeah.
They start turning on each other as well, don't they? Kind of.
Yeah. And then at the end, like the one kind of starts to get bloodlust and kind of starts killing randomly and killing each other and stuff like that. And so they all kind of turn on and try to get her at the end. And then it's a nice little button at the end where they go to find a new place to live. And the whole thing essentially starts all over again, right? So where they find a new place to live, but then they're getting evicted as well, right? So in the future. So no, I don't think you're meant to really feel bad for them that much. I don't think, right? So I mean, to some degree, I mean, they definitely go out of the way to make the evictors really, really terrible, right? Like, so I mean, so to some degree, you're supposed to feel a little bit bad because definitely they're the villains, right? You know, the woman who comes in is a real.
Oh no, you're on side with them, but it's like being part of the bad gang, isn't it? Like no solidarity with the pirate gang.
But I was really surprised this movie doesn't have more of a following because it's quite well done. I thought it was really, really you said it took a time to get going, but I thought it was perfect. It was just setting it up and it kind of just ranked it up, it was ramping up a little bit more, and then it hits its stride at the end and stuff. I thought the rising action worked really, really well.
I think it was just me coming back to it a second time. I expected it from the get-go to.
Yeah,
but you're quite right.
Maybe it's like it's one of those doesn't hold up as well on multiple viewings, but like on a first viewing where you don't really know what you're in for. I think maybe the surprise of the very small genre that it hits. I think it's sort of like it's enough to kind of keep you going for a first viewing at the very least.
It's good fun, and I agree with you. It is one of those films. I don't think it's ever particular. I mean, there are people who do champion it to a certain extent, and there is a disc out, a Blu-ray, but I don't think it's ever really had much in the way of a cult following ever. Like
which I'm surprised because it's quite well done. It was really, really done. I was like, I can't believe I'd never heard more about this movie. So, but good for them. And they all of the geriatric actors were all, quite, solid in their roles, and they all did really, really well. And even like, especially like, geriactors. There you go. That's nice. That's what I was looking for. Paula Truman was the main woman, right?
Yeah, the one with the bobble hat and
And so she apparently was like almost blind when they were doing this. Yeah, so which you can't tell at all, despite the fact that another character is blind. But she can't really tell that so she does quite well, considering that she didn't even know that she couldn't see what was happening right half the time, right? So but I don't know. I don't know how much I have to say about this movie other than it was
fun, right?
It was really like a hidden gem. And I was really happy to watch it. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, so
it's definitely I might recommend it as well. Like let's say if you've had your fill of Cocoon, maybe watch this instead. It would be
if Cocoon went, if they were like if they were bad aliens, it would have been what Cocoon could have been.
Maybe all the characters in this film later on actually ended up in Cocoon, and that would be an interesting mashup where they get Homebodies turns into Cocoon, they get their youth back, and they still homicidal, and then it goes into sorcerer's territory with Boris Karloff. There's a script coming. I feel it. I'm going to write this down.
There you go. There you go. You've got your next one.
Yes. I agree with you. I don't really have that much to say about it because it kind of speaks to itself. But it is a bit of a hit gem that I feel a lot of people still haven't been made aware of. But check it out because Homebodies is there's nothing else quite like it, really. I think I would say.
And like the director, Larry Dust.
Yeah.
like didn't do that much, right? I mean,
No, his big ticket, like I said, is Pretty Poison. That is his big cult film that people remember him for, right? Certainly more than Homebodies.
I don't even know what is Pretty Poison known under a different name.
Oh no, hang on. Sorry,
It's not on his.
I made a mistake. I'm fucking up. I mistook the producer for the director. Of course, that's Noel Black, right? That's not Yeah, sorry, no, brain fart. Ignore what I just said.
Yeah, yes, yeah, he didn't really do that much else other than he did this one.
Oh, he did do a Trick Baby.
Trick Baby, yeah, which I'm not familiar
Which
with.
is it's adaptation of a Iceberg Slim novel. I'm a big Iceberg Slim fan, and I seem to remember Trick Baby being pretty good. Oh no, I tell you what he did do, actually. I suppose maybe what most people have seen, but they don't necessarily think of it as it's a film that people, I think, especially in the States, see when they're younger, when they're in school, and they don't think of it as who directed it. The Lottery, based on the Shirley Jackson short story, the short film from the 60s. Shirley Jackson's Lottery, right?
No, I know that short story quite well, but I've never seen a dramatization of it, so I didn't actually know that they had.
Yeah, there's a famous one from the 60s, so that's probably most seen. Actually, looking it up, the other thing I'm keen to see, he also did a version of Battleby, the Herman Melville short story, which I love.
Also a short, he did a bunch of shorts early on in his career.
There's a really fun version of Battleby starring our old friend Crispin Glover as well.
Okay, yeah. I vaguely remember that. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, that's a good film. There you go. Yeah. Bubba Hotep, Battleby with Crispin Glover. What a Saturday night you're gonna have.
There we go.
Okay, then. So I guess from the sublime to the shit.
Wow. Yeah, that's overstating and understating it, I think so.
Yeah, so I fucked up a little bit here because I've got a few. I think there's going to be 2 or 3 Ohio shows, and our last show is, unfortunately, I'm warning you now, is going to be a J.R. Bookwalter special, just because he was Mr. Indie Horror for a while there. This is not directed by him, but somehow I fucked up and put a J.R. Bookwalter film with because Homebodies, I couldn't find another Cincinnati film, and I was looking for something else to anything to double with it. So this is a bit of a mess, this episode. But so sorry about that. But Skinned Alive from 1989, shot on 16mm in Akron and somewhere called Mogadon, Ohio. We'll be coming back to Akron in our next episode. We'll be doing a Jim Van Bebber special next, which again, not out and out horror, but yeah, you'll enjoy yourself a lot more than you did watching Skinned Alive. That's
well, that doesn't seem that won't be difficult.
Written by John Killick. Well, it's interesting as well. So we've talked about this. So, for instance, when we watched Splatter Farm, the Polonia brothers,
right?
We were talking about how there was this sudden explosion in DIY, either shot on video or 8mm, 6mm gore films, 80s, 90s. And we were talking about how when they were new, they were just fucking everywhere, and you were sick of them and you didn't want to see another one. And then with age, because they're now finite and they've got a time capsule, some of them are actually more interesting to watch now than when they were new, right? And for instance, when we watched Splatter Farm, we rather enjoyed that. But what was most interesting to me about Skinned Alive is this was just as every bit as annoying as it would have been when it was new. Like, it hasn't aged in any way, shape, or form, good or bad. It's exactly the same film as in 1989. I was quite surprised by that. I'd never seen it before, but I can guarantee you this would have pissed me off in exactly the same way then as now.
I think I don't know how I would have reacted to this movie in 89 or 90, but it was and I am all for horror comedies. I like horror comedies a lot. Like I'm like big fan of like there's some of my favorite movies are horror comedies. But emphasis there's got to be comedy, right? So this movie is trying so hard to be funny that it just went right through to the other side where it just doesn't understand what a joke is, or it doesn't understand not even a joke, but doesn't understand what makes something funny. Like they were trying so hard to be funny that it just became so irritating.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good example of people who just don't understand how to do funny.
Well,
right?
it's interesting as well you say that.
Wow. Like,
because the connection here as well, though, is because I know exactly the type of films that you're on that list of films that pull it off really well, and I know it's a favorite of yours, is of course The Evil Dead, right? And
right.
associate of Sam Raimi, Scott Spiegel, who directed like Intruder and one of the From Dusk Till Dawn sequels and some interesting stuff, is in the film, right? He's one of the three main Texas Chainsaw Massacre inspired killer. By the way, did you think when I was watching this as well, I was thinking the one thing I'll give it was I was watching this and I was thinking at least it didn't waste as much money as when Rob Zombie basically made this film like 20 years later or whatever, right? I got very Devil's Rejects vibes.
Yeah, I got a feeling that maybe Rob Zombie at least has at least a little bit of admiration for this movie, or at least he's clocked it at least. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's got that same non-stop pitch, like from the beginning. I'm gonna scream at you, fucking
right, yeah. But it's I was trying to figure out like what went wrong with this movie, right? So like I guess especially even if it's like just sort of like a silly, kind of gory whatever slasher film, I can always usually find something that at least I can enjoy in that stuff. But it was just so irritating to watch this movie, so irritating. And I guess it's just those three main people, right? So I mean, they think that just sort of like yelling at each other equals comedy, right? Like, fuck you. Blah, blah, blah. It's like that itself is not funny, right? You gotta. So yeah, I don't know. It was really
it's Crawl Daddy, right? Mary Jackson, Scott Spiegel, Susan something, I don't care. And they basically find themselves their traveling tannery. Their van breaks down at some small town, and they just proceed to move in with some dude who lets them stay in their basement, and they just kill everyone. And then the neighbor with his boycott Jane Fonda American traitorous bitch t-shirt, and he's an alcoholic.
Yeah, well, I was trying to look. I was kind of afraid to because I didn't want to show my search history, but I wanted to know what was the story behind that shirt. Do you know?
That's because she was anti-Nam tested. She was
anti-Nam. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was like. What was like? It was really like.
You don't remember they used to call her Hanoi Jane?
No, I didn't know anything about that. Like, because I know it was very like front and center, like focused on this shirt, and so I was like,
her and Donald Sutherland actually, they famously they went around doing this FTA show, Fuck the Army show, when I think in the early 70s they took this kind of mixture of like the Entertain the Troops shows that they did, but they did an anti version where they would pick up in front of various army bases and put this Fuck the Army show on with a very anti the people on the right hated Jane Fonda for a long time, called her Hanoi Jane. But so his character as well is supposed to be, I get it, it's trolling, right? We're supposed to, he's supposed to be like the guy with guns and anti kind of, so you're not supposed to sympathize. It's deliberately, it's trolling, right? But again, that's not particularly funny or
but I mean, again, he was, I suppose he was supposed to be the hero of the story that you're supposed to
but in an ironic way, right? Because he's
but it was just sort of like, well, I don't like him, and so I don't really care that they're killing him and all his family, right? So
which would be fine, like you said, it would be fine if it was funny, but it's not funny.
It's not funny,
and even though the effects are probably better than most films of this budget and type.
Sure, I'll have that one. There is some
still
good.
Not they're still not brilliant. They're not like
Yeah,
a
right,
reason to
yeah,
watch the film, right? They're not,
Right,
it's not like watching Brain Dead or something like that, right? So yeah, so there's very little, if anything, other than at least it's not a Rob Zombie film, to, you know.
I'll take a Rob Zombie over this any day. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough call for me, I'm afraid. Yeah, J.R. Bookwalter is in it. He's the guy, he's the Jehovah's Witness who gets his rib cage exposed, and he did the music, but he was a producer. Yeah, so we'll get back, unfortunately, I apologize, we'll get back to J.R. Bookwalter just because he was such a big name on this scene at this time. And so we'll, unfortunately,
What did he have to do with this movie? He was just in it?
he was the producer, he's in it, and he did the music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Actually, to be honest, in his defense, as much as I dislike his films in general, and the fact that any filmmaker who's actually gone out there and done it, and in his case did it repeatedly and kind of made a career for himself, good for him. He's on one of the commentary tracks for Skinned Alive. I don't know if you managed to get that far.
I
And
didn't.
to be fair, he's quite self-deprecating and like his own biggest critic, I would say. Like,
Sure.
I don't think you're going to say anything about a J.R. Bookwalter film that he hasn't already considered himself, right? So
Right.
I kind of, I warmed to him. I'd never heard him speak before. I warmed to him while listening to the commentary. I mean, I still don't like his films, ones that I've seen, right?
But we're doing more of them.
Yes. Because, you know, it's not about our entertainment, it's an educational show. But we're having a break. We're having a break first, and we're going to go Jim Van Bebber, and that'll definitely be a lot more fun. Yeah, no, I'd never seen this before, and yeah, fuck, it was. I suppose in a way it was kind of interesting in so much as it took me back to 1989 in a bad way. Like listening to a Soundgarden album would take me back to 92 or 93 or something like. So there was a slight kind of it's not even nostalgia, I don't think, if you don't like it. Is it kind of bad nostalgia? I don't know what it is, like a weird time travel back to so fucking rubbish.
Yeah. And for me it was really disappointing because I wanted to like this movie. I mean, I, on the other hand, have positive nostalgia about the early 90s and late 80s and some degree. And and I like horror comedy, so all the elements should have been there for me to like this movie, but they just didn't get it. They just didn't get what they were supposed to do.
It's funny. It's interesting. We might see more of these as we go along, but it'll be interesting to see. So the difference between, yes, a Polonia Brothers production, for example, and then something like this, and they seem so close in some ways, right? They seem so close. The kind of gratuitous gore and the kind of the aesthetics and the kind of very non-ironic kind of, you know, having metal on the soundtrack at the end, you know, yeah, we'll fucking go and metal and you know, and like very tongue-in-cheek about it. But somehow it's alchemy, I guess. One thing is kind of charming and weird and genuinely demented and has aged well, and then another thing is just, you know,
I feel like I was skinned alive because it was like ripping my skin off to watch it. Yeah.
Don't worry, Ron. There's more coming at you. Something to look forward to. There we go. So that's part one of our Ohio Odyssey. We'll be back with more next time. And as a reminder, because I sometimes forget to do it, insert 60s garage track from Ohio here.
Ohio.
Get out of the way, you skinned hippie.
Ohio hippie.
People on earth, they're gonna die. Boys just die, but girls they die. You and I will take a trip now. a craze and some say I'm a nut. Peanuts are nice, but the acid is rare. With the bite on hand that's written on the page. With the 8-hour bomb, you'll be up in a cage. My story is coming close to an end. Make sure it's a story and not her best friend.